Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We are back and we got some more Q to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you the other day we had upgraded to butt hurt level ballistic, and that is clearly the case. Seems like nobody's got any chill. MAGA Kitty says, chill. Let's get started on 3124 where we last left you off. 39 minutes after the hour of 12, we get a couple links here. The first one is to a Twitter link from John Solomon. Ukraine opens probe into foreign effort to influence U.S. election to help Hillary Clinton. And here's the article from The Hill. Senior Ukrainian official says he's opened probe into U.S. election interference. Ukrainian Prosecutor General Yuri Lutsenko told Hill TV's John Solomon in an interview aired on Wednesday that he has opened a probe into alleged attempts by Ukrainians to interfere in the United States 2016 presidential election. Today we will launch a criminal investigation about this and will give legal assessment of this information, Lutsenko said last week. Lutsenko is probing a claim from a member of the Ukrainian parliament that the director of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, Artem Sitnik, attempted on the benefit of the 2016 U.S. presidential election on behalf of Hillary Clinton. A State Department spokesman told Hill TV that officials aware of news reports regarding Sitnik. We have always emphasized the need for deep, comprehensive, and timely reforms that respond to the demands of the Ukrainian people made during the Revolution of Dignity, an end to systematic corruption, faster economic growth, and a European future for all Ukrainians, a department spokesman told Hill.tv. We have consistently said that Ukraine's long-term success and resilience depends on its commitment to reform, in particular, the fight to address corruption. To succeed, Ukraine needs committed government officials and strong anti-corruption institutions. The United States is committed to engaging with our partners in Ukraine, including on efforts to roll back the persistent corruption that continues to threaten Ukraine's national security, prosperity, and democratic development. Hill.tv, has also reached out to the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, NABU, and Clinton's spokesperson for comment. According to the member of parliament of Ukraine, he got the court decision that the NABU official conducted an illegal intrusion into the American election campaign, Lutsenko said. It means that we think Mr. Sitnik, the NABU director, officially talked about criminal investigation with Mr. Paul Manafort. And at the same time, Mr. Sitnik stressed that in such a way, he wanted to assist the campaign of Miss Clinton, he continued. Solomon asked Lutsenko about reports that a member of Ukraine's parliament obtained a tape of the current head of the NABU saying that he was attempting to help Clinton with the 2016 presidential election, as well as connections that helped release the Black Ledger files that exposed Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort's wrongdoing in Ukraine. This member of parliament even attached the audio tape where several men, one of which had a voice similar to the voice of Mr. Sitnik, discussed the matter. The second article takes you to Fox News. Obama White House counsel faces possible prosecution in Mueller-initiated probe. Former Obama White House counsel and Clinton-linked attorney Greg Craig may soon be charged by the Justice Department for engaging in illegal, unregistered overseas lobbying in a case initially probed by special counsel Robert Mueller, a development that would make him the first Democrat to face prosecution amid the long-running Russia investigation. The case centers on lobbying work that Craig performed in 2012 for the Russian-backed president of Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych, while Craig was a partner at the law firm Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meagher, and Flom. Craig allegedly never registered as a foreign agent under a U.S. law known as the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA, which requires lobbyists to declare publicly if they represent foreign leaders, governments, or their political parties. FARA violations were only rarely prosecuted until Mueller took aim at Paul Manafort, President Trump's former campaign chairman, for his lobbying work in Ukraine. Manafort, who connected Craig with Yanukovych, has been convicted on numerous bank and tax fraud charges and was separately accused of FARA violations as well. He was sentenced earlier this month to approximately 7 years in prison. Craig Craig left Skadden last year as his work with Manafort became public. In January, Skadden agreed to cooperate with the DOJ's registration requirements and paid $4.6 million in a settlement to avoid a criminal prosecution. We have learned much from this incident and are taking steps to prevent anything similar from happening again, the firm said in a statement at the time. Here are some other important tidbits. Mueller referred the Craig case to New York federal prosecutors, apparently because it fell outside his mandate of determining whether the Trump campaign coordinated with Russia. And that's a very important distinction to make because remember, the whole investigation is into Trump team and Russia collusion. So if this guy Greg Craig is getting arrested in regards to his connection with Manafort and it's being referred to New York federal prosecutors because it doesn't fall in the mandate of determining whether the Trump campaign coordinated with Russia, then it looks like we've got something else, don't we? New York prosecutors ultimately forwarded the case to the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. in January for a now imminent final decision on filing charges, the New York Times reported Tuesday. Separately, New York prosecutors are also looking into potential similar charges regarding another Clinton-connected Washington insider. You guessed it, Tony Podesta. In September, Manafort admitted to directing two firms, Mercury Public Affairs and the Podesta Group, to lobby in the U.S. on behalf of a Ukrainian political party in Ukraine's government, then led by Yanukovych, Manafort's longtime political patron. Mercury and Podesta, which were paid a combined $2 million on the project, then registered under a less stringent lobbying law that doesn't require as much public disclosure as FARA. Okay, well, that's not exactly breaking news, but it is important that this stuff get out into the public sphere of knowledge because this shows the real Russian collusion, right? And of course, it's by way of the Ukraine. This connects us to Paul Manafort, and at some point, it's going to connect us also to Tony Podesta too. But we've known about this Sitnik, who oddly enough was director of the National Anti-Corruption Board. How odd that he would be so corrupt. And it looks like there's some audio there. Now, that remains to be seen what they're going to do with all that. But we've sort of known about this for a while. But this has got the deep state in a panic, not just here in the United States, but around the world. Q says numbers do not always equate to days. The face of a watch or clock has multiple versions. Incorrect interpretations pushed as statements of fact often lead to pitfalls. Stranglehold, choke tactic used by attackers. Yeah, look, and I've maintained this for quite a while. There's a big reason why I don't like to do any of the prediction of dates and stuff like that. It's because we don't really know. Let's face it, if everybody's watching this board, it would be pretty moronic to give everybody the whole plan in an exact fashion right here on HN when we know everyone's paying attention. Now, I know there's a lot of well-meaning patriots who just can't understand why Q won't just lay it straight out. And it should be very, very obvious. We're at war, patriots. This is how it goes. These clocks or these countdowns or whatever they are, they're showing some sort of time, and we don't really know. And I really don't, I wouldn't ever encourage against checking it out because I think it's fun. It's out here for us to check out, and we're all kind of trying to figure it out together, right? But it is important to keep in mind that everybody's watching this. And like I just said in my last video, a lot of this is to flush out a lot of the knuckleheads, right? Because they don't have a choice but to abide by these so-called countdowns. So it might be a completely fake countdown, or it might have a meaning that we don't even understand yet, or maybe somebody's grasped onto it and we just haven't really picked it out yet. But the fact of the matter is, like I said, these people have to react to this because they don't have a choice, right? And how do they react? In the way that they did yesterday: increase in tax, deplatform, shill infiltration, MSM, fake MAGA, direct links to terrorism, act of violence. Yeah, you know what they did with that particular event that happened out there in NZ, right? You know exactly what they did. They tried to blame MAGA. They tried to blame Q. That's what they're trying to do. Now they're going after social media platforms. And many of you guys are, if you are following Twitter, you know that our buddy Praying Medic went down yesterday. Now, I'll let him explain himself. I'm not really interested in hearing about all the fake accounts and this and that. All I know is that his account is back up, and that's all I care about. But there's a lot of fake accounts going out there. I wouldn't be surprised if I've got a fake account out there floating around somewhere. There's only one account for IPOT. That's just how it works. But we've all gotten heavy attacks yesterday in particular. And it's just something that only demonstrates the validity and close proximity to justice being pain, meaning patriots are now in control. And as this starts to spill out, we're seeing the worldwide implications. And this is why we're starting to see a lot of events occurring worldwide. We're going to talk a little bit more about those events. Let's move on to the next post for for now. Post 3125, 11 minutes after the hour of 1, we get a Twitter link to Brian Cates over there at the Epoch Times, does another great thread, and we're going to cruise through this, but this is good stuff. I'm still laughing my off at those who think the entire plot was exposed, aired out in public for the last year and a half, so that, can you believe this? I mean, really? They can let all the plotters walk away? My God, some people are dumb. Remember what I told you earlier. I wrote columns about it. The Trump admin strategy on the Spygate investigation / prosecutions, indictments is not to comment or even acknowledge their existence until they were ready. And remember, that was a big frustration with everybody about Jeff Sessions because he wasn't talking about it. People were assuming that it didn't happen. He leaves this link here to the Epoch Times. Now read this letter from Representatives Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows, which we read a while back, in which they demand new AG William Barr give them an update on the criminal referral they made to the DOJ about Andrew McCabe more than a year ago. Nowhere in their letter do the two House reps even mention or acknowledge the fact that there's already a grand jury investigation of McCabe being led by U.S. attorneys. Well, if you've been following my channel for a while, you would have known that already, right? Anyone who signed off on those FISAs likely already has a grand jury. The existence of that grand jury was revealed in a leak last September 6th. And here's the article regarding that, called The Silent Professionals. Note, they don't ask for any update on the grand jury investigation into McCabe that has been meeting for months by the time it was revealed last September. And why would that be? That would be because there was a lot of classified information. And Q has alluded to this fact that once that stuff can get declassed, it's going to come in the form of Scarticles and John Solomon articles, and we'll start getting it in the form of their testimony and whatnot. But we haven't seen this for a long time, so it's real easy to say it's not going on. But the fact of the matter is that no one's leaking because you don't leak grand jury investigation information. If these guys are playing a role of being clueless, they are doing a really great job of it / end. Look at the opinion polls on Spygate. The ground has been prepared. The majority of those polled now understand what happened. A year and a half ago, was that true? Of course not. The constant drip, drip, drip rollout of the plot, carefully managed, has done its work. Exactly. Bacony, cheesy bites. If Trump launched major prosecutions in 2017 without public support and tried to explain after the fact, how well would that have worked, do you think? And that's such an important point right there. And that's for all the people who are, well, just do it, just drop it, then just in that. Look, the fact of the matter is that President Trump could have done that, and no one would have cared. And it would have meant nothing. It would have been a big womp fest. Remember, the hatred for Trump didn't just dump on him in one day either. They had to build it up and build it up and build it up. That's how they got their base to hate Trump. Well, there's no reason why it wouldn't be the opposite, right? Even mid-2018, the ground wasn't ready yet, but now it is. Many commentators never had any real faith in Trump to begin with and are right now spinning tales about how he's stupidly being fooled again by appointing Barr, etc., argle, bargle, barf. I like that. Argle, bargle, barf. You just got done watching Trump epically troll DC over the wall funding. He knew all along he was going to get the dollars from the DOD, and Congress couldn't do jack to stop him, right? Yeah, and we talked about this for many, many months too, about this whole wall thing. It was just a big dog and pony show to kind of get the public narrative really kind of back where it needs to be. How many months did it take him to set that up? What we call Spygate is more massive and far-reaching than most of you know. I've tried to explain the actual scope of this several times, then I gave it and decided to just let it happen. Uranium One, Russian moles, massive bribery scandals, illegal spying on Congress. Remember, FISA was just the cover-up. Entire CIA networks being rolled up, massive exposure of top classified intelligence, including special access programs. Most people have no idea this goes far beyond just spying on the Trump campaign during the 2016 election. Yeah, special access programs could be NASA. It could be fighter plane designs, right? Uninterruptible autopilot, right? People who keep screaming, well, hurry up already, have no idea of the real scope and how far-reaching this is. Yeah, and at this point, for the people who keep saying this, I got no time for you. I won't be spending any time debating on you. If you don't really get this at this point, I don't know what to tell you. This had to be carefully managed to avoid a societal collapse. I am not joking. He's not joking. When you begin rolling all this out, the ground has to be ready or there will be massive upheaval. The extent and depth of the corruption is staggering. Trump had to solidify control of the Fed, agencies chock full of spies and saboteurs. That was literally all of 2017, part of 2018. Yeah, precisely. I suppose we could have just arrested Hillary Clinton, right? And that would have caused a massive upheaval. It would have done more harm than it would do good. You've got to get the public narrative behind you. When this gets rolled out, Democrats, DNC media, Never Trump, etc. are going to realize that it's really being done. They're serious about not just airing all this stuff out, but also about prosecuting the people that did it. They're going to try to literally start a civil war. So, people who say Trump and his team should have pulled the trigger on this back in 2017 were always clueless. They didn't understand the extent of this and that the country itself hangs in the balance if this is mishandled. So no, the perps are not going to be allowed to walk away scot-free. After all they were doing, this has been fully exposed to the public. But the public exposure had to come first and had to be accepted by most of the public before taking the next step. Probably the wisest words in a very good thread. And people who can't see that or accept that have more problems than I can help them with. Trump knows what he's doing. End. Addendum. Forgot a point I was going to make. In 2017, we had Antifa holding major riots in many large cities. Remember that? Now, thanks to Sessions and others, they were dispersed and now only cause problems in deepest blue places like Portland, Oregon. And remember, all these polls oversample Democrats. All right. Well, big thanks to Brian Cates, who does just a ton of great work over there on Twitter. If you are on Twitter, I highly suggest you give him a follow. Thanks once again. And Q kicks down some real knowledge here. The attempted coup, treason, opens the public door to more serious things. Yeah, FISA is just the beginning, and getting the public to understand the nature of that is so important. That's why we've kicked it around so much, because it's important to know the details that as we red pill people, the pill must be easy to swallow, the lead in. The public must be prepared for what is about to come, which is that the Clinton Foundation is guilty of tons and tons and tons of crimes against humanity. Now, I do have some opinions on this, pretty strong opinions, because I do this daily. And all I can say is that you're welcome to do whatever you like, whenever you like. If you're looking to red pill your friends, I'm not so sure that going straight to the satanic pedivore stuff is a great way to lead in. The pill must be easy to swallow. And a perfect example here was this Twitter thread here from Brian Cates. He laid out FISA in a very, very clear, articulate manner that allows people to kind of take that in. And when they realize that, they'll start asking the questions. And when they start asking the questions, they'll be a little bit more open to kind of gathering some of the uglier truths that really many of us know are really at the bottom of all this, right? But if you start in right with that, with, all the satanic stuff going on at Epstein's Island and Haiti and this and that, it's going to be really, really tough. You're going to scare people away because they're going to think you're a conspiracy theorist knucklehead. Now, listen, you can say, hey, Patrick, I can do whatever I want. You're just preaching to me. Okay, fair enough. Do it how you will. But I will say this, and I'm going to blow my own horn. Otherwise, some will use it as a spittoon from time to time. But I've red-pilled quite a few people. And for me, it's worked well. Hopefully, it can work well for you too. Beyond that, you do what you like. But I think that a good lead in, letting people know some things that they need to know, but not going full bore on them straight out, helps kind of shift this narrative. And we're seeing it also in how this bacony, cheesy goodness is getting distributed. They're not dumping it all at once because it would be way too much. Okay? There would be way too much pushback. But once people start to accept FISA, then they can take the next bit. They can start to see the treason. They can start to see what was in these special access programs. They can start to understand what this really, really meant and what the sum of all fears really, really meant. And when they can finally grasp that, they can see the motivation behind it, which we know really is this sick pedophile network that we know it to be. Just a suggestion. I hope it works out for you. I hope your red pilling is working out for you. And let me know what you guys think down below as to what's worked for you. That would be great to share with some other Patriots. Let's move on for now. Post 3126, 24 minutes after the hour of 1. Did both of Hussein's parents learn Russian? Is Russian a common language to learn? Well, like I've said before, in Russia it is. Think then, think now. Well, back then it would have been the Cold War, right? Q says think Nellie Orr, and we know Nellie Orr speaks Russian. Why would you need to know to speak Russian in their fields of practice? Public fields? Because you got to talk to Russians, right? After all, if you're a clown, you're probably still talking to a whole bunch of Russians because the Cold War never really ended, right? Now, I think what Q is applying here with this alphabet is that we're talking about alphabet agencies, because we see the A, B, C in particular highlighted twice here, and in particular the C being CIA. And of course we know that's referring to clowns, right? CIA clowns. Now, in regards to Obama's parents, thanks to Lisa Mae Crowley, who posted this on her Twitter, I want to read this little bit right down here. Barack Obama's mother was a very interesting and unusual woman, and according to Ripley, he's very much his mother's son. Sorry, this is off of militarymoneymatters.com. Barack Obama's mother, Stanley Ann Durham Obama Soetoro, she later spelled it Soetoro, was a white woman from the Midwest who married and divorced not one, but two foreign men, one from Kenya and one from Indonesia, both Muslim. She met Barack Obama Sr. in a Russian language class at the University of Hawaii, where both were students. After one semester, at age 18, she dropped out of school and 3 months pregnant, secretly married a man she met only a few months later. Young Barack was born August 4th, 1961. Okay, so I'll leave this article for you. Thanks to Lisa May for putting this out there. I appreciate it. From Military Money Matters. But we see what's going on. We're talking about Clowningtons, right? And we know that's exactly what Nellie Orr was also. This was a big, long plan to put a whole bunch of seditious knuckleheads into the office. And they succeeded at the top level, putting in a POTUS that was never looking out for our interests, right? The Cold War never really ended. Let's move on to 3127. 45 minutes after the hour of 1, ask yourself a very simple cue. Would the fake news media and other controlled assets expend this amount of time and resource attacking, attempt to discredit, cast as a conspiracy LARP this movement if it did not pose a significant threat? Danger. You attack those who threaten you the most. Logical thinking. Well, we've seen lots of danger recently, right? We're not just talking about the NZ incident. We're talking about lots of different kinds of incidents. We also had the attempt on Frankie Boy Cali, and of course that shooter was linked to QAnon, had QAnon written on his hand, right? Which also seems really, really suspect. From what it appears, he was whacked out of his mind when he walked out into the courtroom. So they're spending a lot of time trying to make sure that we look bad. And of course, we've shown for months and months and months, everything from WAPO all the way down. All these knuckleheads hate Q. Why do they hate Q so much? Because we're talking about stuff they don't want to hear. And we saw this yesterday in the attacks on all the different social media platforms too. They wouldn't waste all this time if we really didn't mean much. It's clearly something significant, and we're getting a lot closer because the danger seems to be upscaled. Like I said, butt hurt level ballistic. Let's move on to 3128. 9 minutes after the hour 2. Q takes us back to this warning here we had in 3077 from March 14th, telling us to be vigilant at all times. US, UK, France, and Italy. And then we get this Twitter link right here. And this is the breaking news live. Immigrant man hijacked school bus carrying 51 children, locked them inside, and set the bus on fire in possible terrorist incident in Milano, Italy. Police quickly rescued all children on board, and thank goodness for that. This is an absolutely terrible story. 51 children burned alive, enough to change the narrative for days. You bet. You bet it is, man. And that's what's so sick about this thing. When you start messing with the children, this really is not a game. And for those of you who are, like we were talking about earlier, talking about FISA and why President Trump won't just drop it. Look, this is dangerous as it is already, okay? And a lot of this, kind of slow drip, if you will, slow walking with the Q posts allows for them to kind of see what's going on so that they can actually get a beat on this, because we don't want 51 children burned alive ever. It's a terrible story. These people are indeed sick. We're going to get a little bit more here in the next post. 3128, 9 minutes after the hour 2. Q adds on here with another Twitter link, and this is to Ruth Ann. Shocking video footage in Italy. School bus driver identified as a migrant with Senegalese origin sets bus on fire with children in an alleged suicide attempt. 12 children brought to the hospital. One child severely injured with burn marks. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to show you this video, although it's not really very graphic. You can go to Ruth Ann at T-Boots on Twitter if you'd like to see it, but I can't stand watching children get hurt. I just think it's absolutely terrible. But you see what's up. This is not a game. Who commits suicide by going after kids, right? Just commit suicide if you're going to commit suicide, right? This is clearly terrorism is what this is. And it's terrorism meant to be blamed on Q. Now, I want to point out that Q has capitalized this and left spaces in between here. You guys can let me know if you think there's some significance to that. We've got so many Q posts to get through that we're just going to go ahead and move on for now. 3130. 22 minutes after the hour of 3, we get this link right here. Takes you to the Daily Mail. He had a perpetual smile even when he was correcting you. Obama leads the tributes to his chief economist, who also advised Bill Clinton after he takes his own life, age 58. We talked about this a couple days ago. Alan Kruger, 58. was a Princeton University economist who served in the Clinton and Obama administrations. He was known as an expert on the labor market who argued that raising minimum wage did not slow hiring. President Obama named Kruger chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. He helped us return the economy to growth and sustained job creation, not true, to bring down the deficit in a responsible way, Obama said in a statement, also not true. Okay, so you guys probably remember this from the other day. Very, very sneaky, suspicious. And I thought it was interesting that the family came out so quickly saying that it was a suicide. Q says, "It is with tremendous sadness that we share that Professor Alan B. Kruger," this is a quote from that article, "beloved husband, father, son, brother, and Princeton professor of economics, took his own life over the weekend." A statement from his family reads, Q says, "Start a list." Okay, this is probably a very, very important name, and I think that we're going to get a little more insight as to why his name was so important and what that suicide meant in these next gang of posts here. 31:31, 55 minutes after hour 3. Look at this. Yeah, hot tub fantasy party right there. There you go, ladies. And the link takes you to Politico. Mystery party seeks secrecy in Jeffrey Epstein-related suits. 2 mystery litigants citing privacy concerns are making a last-ditch bid to keep some secret details in a lawsuit stemming from wealthy financier Jeffrey Epstein's history of paying underage girls for sex. Just prior to a court-imposed deadline Tuesday, 2 anonymous individuals surfaced to object to the unsealing of a key lower court ruling in the case, as well as various submissions by the parties. Both people filed their complaints in the New York-based Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which is overseeing the case. The 2 people said they could face unwarranted speculation and embarrassment if the court makes public records from the suit, in which Virginia Juff, an alleged Epstein victim, accused longtime Epstein friend Ghislaine Maxwell, remember that name, Ghislaine Maxwell, of engaging in sex trafficking by facilitating his sexual encounters with teenage girls. Maxwell has denied the charges. Wholesale unsealing of the summary judgment materials will almost certainly disclose uneducated allegations against third persons, allegations that may be the product of false statements or perhaps simply mistake, confusion, or failing memories of events alleged to have occurred over a decade and a half ago. Former federal prosecutor Nick Lewin wrote in an amicus brief filed Tuesday. Okay, so this is pretty interesting stuff. We got these people wanting to put the kibosh on this, and we knew a while back that it looked like some more indictments were going to be added onto this, which likely could put Epstein behind bars for even longer. There was a lot of witnesses and a lot of testimony that was never heard, and that's kind of essentially what this was all about. Now they've got a couple people trying to say that they know about this. Interesting. The other anonymous brief came from Washington-based attorney Kerry Campbell, who handles gender equality cases and is affiliated with the Time's Up movement to combat sexual harassment. How ironic. Campbell requested that the brief submitted on behalf of a J. Doe be put under seal, but said in legal papers that the client is objecting to public disclosure of specific content pertaining to Doe and protecting compelling personal privacy interests. Campbell did not immediately respond to a message seeking commitment. Juff and Maxwell settled the lawsuit for an undisclosed sum in 2017 after U.S. District Court Judge Robert Sweet turned down Maxwell's bid to head off a trial. In the lead-up to that ruling, Sweet accepted almost all filings in the case under seal without specific orders justifying the secrecy. 3 different parties asked Sweet to unseal records in the case. Well, who would that be? Harvard Law professor and former Epstein lawyer Alan Dershowitz, a prominent Trump defender, filmmaker, and far-right social media personality Mike Cernovich, and the Miami Herald. Dershowitz said he wanted several records released to disprove and discredit allegations 2 women have made that they had sex with the Dersh at Epstein's direction. Dershowitz has categorically denied the allegations. Cernovich says a far-ranging secrecy in this case undermined efforts to expose sexual trafficking by American elites, and that's essentially what's going on here. Now, remember, the Dersh was on those Epstein logs. Of course, he was a lawyer for Epstein. However, there is no proof that he ever went to the island. We see that in the logs that he never really did that. He just flew on a plane. So we don't really know. But Dersh seems pretty confident in his story. He wants to see these records unsealed. He said on Fox News even a while back that this would not only clear his name, but likely put some others in hot water. Now, in regards to this picture, the True Pundit reported on this back in March of last year. And it appears that this picture is from January 2017 in Palmilla Bayahibe, which is an exclusive resort. And you can only reach this resort by private boat. Interestingly enough, I don't see Hillary anywhere there. Now, in regards to the IDs, I'm not really sure. The picture that you're looking at here, I wanted to just kind of give you a clear picture, but I'm not so sure that these are all correct. I'm not so sure that the True Pundit has their identities correct either. But we'll start from the left with what appears to be Ricardo Chaz. And I believe that is the case. Florida businessman. He owns a beauty company called Lurinel's out of Dover, Florida. I do believe that is probably him. He's got a pretty big Instagram account. That appears to be him. Bill Clinton's pretty easily identifiable right there. Now, in the picture here, we're seeing that this guy next to Bill Clinton is George Nader. And the True Pundit seems to think that it could be George Nader or Jose Calzada next to him. George Nader is an advisor in Abu Dhabi to the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan of Abu Dhabi. I'm not so sure that's the case. There's a picture of him right there. It doesn't look to me like the hairlines match up. Now, this other guy here, Jose Calzada, who is a Mexican politician, also doesn't seem like he's got the hairline to match either one of those guys. In the picture, it says the guy on the far right is Tony Podesta. I also believe that that hairline doesn't match up. So I'm not really sure about those two guys, the one next to Bill Clinton and the one that the picture says is Tony Podesta. I don't think those are the case. That's just my opinion. You guys are welcome to disagree or let me know who you think it might be down below. Now, with the guy with his back turned, people seem to believe that that is Rolando Gonzalez Boonster, and that's what the True Pundit reported also. I think that could very well be the case. That would make sense. He is an Argentine businessman. He is the executive officer of a company called Inter Energy Holdings, and they're based out of the Cayman Islands. They operate out of the Dominican Republic, so that would make a lot of sense. He's also a big-time Clinton Foundation donor, so that very well could be the case, but I'm not so sure about those other guys. Now here we see a second picture here, and we've got another guy in this picture. Now in this picture, I have to admit, that guy looks a little bit more like it could be George Nader in this pic. So I could be wrong on that. I'm not 100% convinced. You guys can let me know. But we see this new guy here on the left, and who's this guy? Whoever it is seems to have a very distinctive bridge on his nose. Now I've seen a few different theories. None of them have really sold me 100%. Some people were suggesting this could be Mark Mazinski, who is Chelsea Clinton's husband. Similar chin. I'm not so sure that that's the same nose right there. It's not a bad guess, though. I'll be honest with you. When I first looked at this picture back when I saw it in March, I thought that this might actually be David Cameron. I'm not 100% convinced on that either, and I don't want to make any wild speculations on the identity of these guys, but I'm sure that probably after these posts, we're going to get a little bit more insight. Somebody will probably pick these guys out. Q says, drop number 3050. That was from March 14th from the other day, saying, will the rich and powerful influence the court to prevent the unsealing? Well, hopefully not. This is a big deal. This is a mammoth deal, right? Follow the attorney. Was that the Dersh? Are we talking about the Dershowitz who took the pic? Not really sure. Did the Dersh take this pic? I don't know. Who was located behind the camera? Well, I suppose that's going to be important information to figure out. Q says sex trafficking is real. And I want to point out that there's an underscore in between these words. Sex trafficking is real. Post 31, 32, 39 minutes after the hour of 4, we get this Politico link right here, and this takes us to that motion that we were talking about earlier in regards to the Epstein case. Motion of John Doe for leave to file brief as amicus curiae in support of defendant Apolline Maxwell's objections to the court's March 11, 2019 order to show cause. And I think the name that Q wants to point us out here to is this Nicholas J. Lewin. Q says, Nick Lewin, Mueller connection, Comey connection, national security. Well, here he is right here off of Krieger Kim and Lewin LLP, Nicholas J. Lewin. Let's read a little bit about him. Nick Lewin represents individuals and institutions in criminal and regulatory enforcement actions, congressional investigations, and complex civil litigation. Nick co-founded the firm after serving for more than a decade as a federal prosecutor and senior FBI official, including as the special counsel to former FBI directors Robert Mueller III and James B. Nobody's Homie Comey, and as deputy chief of the criminal division in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Nick is also among one of the most accomplished national security prosecutors in the United States. He served as trial counsel in United States of America versus Osama bin Laden and conducted many of the most significant international terrorism jury trials since 9/11, including the senior-most al-Qaeda leader prosecuted in any court, Osama bin Laden's son-in-law, the founding al-Qaeda member who led its terrorist training camp in Afghanistan and its cell in East Africa, and the only former Guantanamo Bay and CIA black site detainee to be transferred to federal court, where he was tried for his role in the August 7th, 1998 bombings of the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. All right, so is Q sort of alluding to the fact that this guy may be a little bit up one of their cover-up guys? Mueller connection, Comey connection, national security. Post 3133, 30 minutes after the hour of 9, and Anon is talking about this picture here. Started digging on the pic Q posted, trying to figure out who took the pic. Doing a search of it on Tin Eye. The first article that pops up is from the True Pundit last March, and that was the article that I also referenced. One thing that popped out, going to dig further in a bit, was the location the pic was taken. And here's a quote from the article. Clinton is seen here kicking back at a beach day in January 2017 in Palmilla Bayahibe, an exclusive haven of warm waters and refuge near the so-called Paso de Catuano, very close to Isla Saona. This resort is only inaccessible by private boat. No idea who took the pic yet, still digging, but thought I'd share the location in case it helps one of you. Anybody know anything about this resort? Is it a last resort? And this is the link to the True Pundit article if you'd like to see that. Now Q responds by giving us this link right here to rachelchandler.us, and we're going to talk a bit about her in a bit. How many girls were waiting for their return to the boat? Not really sure. Who owned the boat? Well, I'm assuming that it could be Rachel herself. What does a handler procure? Well, whatever they need, I suppose. Is the handler one of many connected to Epstein? Flight logs reveal many hidden artifacts. RCQ, and I believe RC is simply Rachel Chandler. All right, Patriots, I'm going to leave you there for now. This video is already getting a bit long, and right now YouTube is making upload times excruciatingly long, which only adds to an already pleasant day. But we are going to cover Rachel Chandler a lot in the next video. Most of these next posts are about it, but as you can see, it's almost a demoralizing amount of Q right there. It's a ton of Q. It all has to do with Rachel Chandler, so we're going to talk about her in the next video, but I will leave you there until then. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that already. If you're new to my channel, welcome to you. Please keep in mind that you're going to get unclicked and unnotified and unsubscribed from time to time. That's just how it works. Please don't email me asking me to fix it on my end. It's not on my end. We're all getting blocked and banned and unnotified from things, so we just have to deal with it the best we can. So please just keep searching me. I find that if you just type in IPOT, you'll oftentimes have an easier time finding my videos if you're having a hard time in your search. But good luck with that. Thanks to all of you who've been doing that for me. I appreciate it. All my alternate links are down below to my Gab, my BitChute, which is also not working right now either. It seems to be down. It seems to be kind of selectively deciding which videos they're going to process and publish. But I am still uploading over there. And of course, I'm over here at Twitter at IPOT 1776. That's at IPOT 1776. My email is also down below. My PO box is down below. And if you'd like to support the channel and help keep my butt here researching all this stuff, my Patreon link is down below. It'd be greatly appreciated if you check that out. All those links are down below. I'm going to get to work on this Rachel stuff, and I will get back to you on the next one. This is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay funky.